it's what we have. Now, the labor movement began to die out in the 1970s. Just talking just about America, but this was true worldwide too. Mao Zedong was largely discredited in the 1970s. Ho Chi Minh, I guess, was dead, but the world workers' movement was curtailed. The communists, who had been very, very popular in the United States, were just literally driven out of business. And a few of us here are old enough to remember when all the movies were made against them and all the TV programs were made against them, and all of them were arrested or deported, or in the case of Julius and Ethel Rosenberg, they were executed. So some people, there's one book, I can't remember the name of it, I think it's called The Death of Labor. Says that labor died in 1972 during the Democratic Party convention because the labor failed to support George McGovern for president. They just didn't take a stand, but it was really because they were for Nixon. And according to this one book, that was the death of the labor movement. I think the labor movement died is dying of a more slow death than that. I think they began to die in the 60s because they didn't support the women's movement, for the most part. For the most part, they didn't support the civil rights movement. I know some of them did. Walter Reuther did. But most of them didn't. And I think it was the Vietnam War that really hurt them the most. And that culminated pretty much in 1972. The AFL-CIO was the last major organization in the United States that still supported the war in Vietnam, even after all the politicians and everybody else had given up on it. So I think the war in Vietnam hurt them very much, hurt their credibility. I think that young people did not believe in them. And so they lost. They had a third of the membership. They had a third of the workforce organized. Now they have 11%. They haven't really lost that much in the last few years. But between 1947, well, really 1950 some odd, and 1980, they lost a lot of members. It wasn't because people left, it's just because they didn't organize new people. And the jobs were going overseas, and automation was getting all the jobs. So labor's strength was largely gone when Mr. Reagan took office. And he turned viciously against labor and succeeded in the things that he did. The upshot of this decline in the labor movement was rising inequality. And up goes the graphic again. So my argument is this: the solution is not elect good guys, although certainly we have to work hard to win every possible election. And I certainly don't want to distract from the elections that are going on right now. We have to work really hard to try to win those elections. But we also have to organize. I was glad Michelle came tonight because Michelle's an organizer. She's signing them up. And we have to have petitioning campaigns. We have to have boycotts. You know, we've almost lost the power of boycotts since farm workers, the last really good one was the lettuce boycott. When was that? 73 or something like that? 74? We have to have the economic struggle. We have to do what the industrial workers of the world did. They, unfortunately for them, they did not believe in electoral politics at all. And that's one of the reasons that they failed. So I'm not saying that we should turn our backs on electoral politics. I'm just saying we have to do a whole lot more. And we have to recognize that it's It's not some abstraction. It's the workers' movement that has to win. So I implore you to do this individually, to get involved with the workers' movement. I implore you to, for example, if you're interested in retirement, get involved in the Alliance for Retired Americans. That's my organization. And we meet next Wednesday at 12:30 at 334 Bishop Street. And everybody's welcome if you want to fight for retiree rights, pensions, and Social Security and that sort of thing. Please come. Tom comes. He's the vice president. And if you will let me have your email, I'll make sure that you know what everything that the labor movement is doing, because I'm the guy who sends that stuff out every week.